It is the second to last series of the day. In the top right is the blue Zerg. It is Reynor. Actually playing Zerg. In the bottom left is the red Terran. We have uThermal. Would dressing up a cat in a dark shark outfit be too far? It might be, yes. I'd say so. So, second to last series. uThermal currently sits at 2-3 score. Harstem and DNS also at 2-3. But uThermal did beat Harstem. He did not beat DNS. So, the struggle for 4th place continues for all 3 of those players. How about dressing up a shark in a cat outfit? I mean, if you want to try. Rules about race changing in this tournament, I think per series. I'm not sure though. But we gotta talk about what's happening in the game, don't we? 3 racks proxy. uThermal gonna try and come out of the gates running. And Reynor has not scouted this. He tried to scout a little bit and pull back his Overlord. This gives him, you know, the bare minimum advance notice. But hopefully he'll be able to save the Overlord first. And then stop the bunkers from coming down second. Creep spread already starting to reduce the surface. How many bunkers will uThermal get down? I mean, you can certainly still fit one over here. There's actually a lot of room in this natural when you look at the situation. And it is a 3 racks, which I think Reynor is now aware of, but this is going to give uThermal a lot of firepower. Still 3 SCVs, make that 2, but the bunker is already 80% not done, 90%, and it'll actually finish up in 1 bunker. So apparently all that uThermal is going to try and go for is going to actually go after this queen as well, not quite find it, but more Marines are pouring forth, and Reynor has not stopped the flood. This is quite concerning. Reynor's gonna pull the drones, but more Marines are coming along. That bunker is still very healthy. The last SV does fall, so no more repair on the bunker, but also no more lings. 1 very weak queen and not yet on a transfuse. 5 energy away from it. Might be able to keep that second queen alive. In fact, both of them now have a transfuse, I believe. No, just shy of it, and it doesn't matter anyways. Reynor does not have enough units to stop the Marines. GG. Reynor can, in fact, lose a game. That is Reynor's first loss of the tournament, map loss. We'll see if it turns into a series loss. Whoops, I forgot to actually press the go button on that prediction, but we'll see if you guys are incredibly influenced by that first game. uThermal with a Stormgate clan tag. Yeah, him and a couple other pros actually have the Stormgate clan. Even the pros that actually have teams, because if you remember, uThermal is no longer on a team. And now in a game number 2 on Stargazers. They're stars. He's a star. She's a star. Where's the betting integrity? You know, if uThermal was already down a game, I'd be like, oh, well, that probably influences a lot of people. But I think what's going to happen is most people will still believe in Reynor. Well, maybe not. Yeah. Yeah, most people are very passionate people believe in Reynor, so that's what I expected anyways. In the top right, down a game, he is Reynor. In the top left, going for a low ground wall off, we have uThermal. He might just be going into the 2 or even 3 racks Reaper yet again. So last time he went 3 racks Reaper, I was fairly ineffective versus Solar. Kind of got a macro game out of it, but not a very good one, and did lose. Now, when I saw that, I directly referenced a Kelazur game versus a Laser. Of this, I am 99% sure. And it was on Stargazers, I want to say as well. And it turned into kind of a cool game. if I am remembering correctly, and it's very possible that I'm not, but I'm pretty sure that was where Kelazur did a Reaper expand, I guess we'll call it. Well, not 1 Rex, but 2 Rex. And then followed up with like a double medevac drop. And then tried to push. And it became a really long game, actually. It became a macro game. But I'm pretty sure he didn't 3 Rex Reaper when Kelazur did. He did just do a 2 Rex, which so far that's what uThermal's doing as well. Which I do like better. I think the committal of the 3rd barracks doesn't really help all that much. Oh, maybe not. Nope, spoke too soon. Just had to fit in an orbital, and then his 3rd Rex comes down. Okay, that's the build order. So if he does this, then he might be doing exactly what he did versus Solar, which is going into non-stop Reaper production with a fast +1 upgrade as well. So, yeah, Kelazur, I'm pretty sure, went for 2. He certainly was willing to move away from a lot of Reapers, and uThermal really pushes the Reapers. He really waits a long time to move away into Marines. This is also a slightly worse thing to do on the location uThermal has found himself in, as the add-ons will be on the outside. Usually not that big of a deal, to be honest, but just a very, very minor note. So Reynor went for a greedy build by the looks of things. His 3rd hatch is only 60, well, it is already 60% done. And his queens are not out. There we go. So, was that a hatch? 3rd hatch broke cool? Because the lings are out, so no, I don't think it was. But it did delay the queens. Looks like the queen delay was not really all that impactful, and the initial number of Reapers isn't all that scary a lot of the time. But that said, that is usually because the queens are out. Unfortunate there, uThermal was having a brief field day as the queens were not up and running. Then there was the creep spread problem between the main and the natural, but he lost the Reaper anyways. 3 Reapers at a time, when I feel like there is a surprising amount of momentum already going uThermal's way because Reynor doesn't have speed on the way. Yeah, Reynor was a very greedy boy. Righty. His gas only just finished. He's only just outputting drones into gas, so he really is depending on an all-mineral defense, which can be awfully sketch against the Reapers. Because what can happen... Oh, well, nope. Don't lose any more Reapers. What can happen is that the lings are all... They're taken down pretty quickly, right? So that's usually... That can possibly not be a big deal. Now, as it is, abusing the Reaper hop-up spot right now, the lings are adding a tremendous benefit. But if they ever try and chase, then obviously they just die. And then the queens are left alone. And then the Reapers can really focus on microing against queens, and that is it. And when they can just do that, yeah, a lot of Reaper players, especially uThermal, is going to have a lot of fun juggling the queens and killing them. A Spine Crawler still would make a little bit of difference, but even then, if he thought he saw an opportunity, he might actually push the issue. But with the Spine Crawlers correctly defending the 3rd, or it was a natural, but you get the point, and the Reaper high grounds hop-up spot only being limited to this, it looks like Reynor has defended, and uThermal has decided not to go into the over-committed Reapers that he did versus Solar. He is just going right into the Marine follow-up with the drop as well. So let's take a overview of the game then. Resources lost. Worse, I guess, for uThermal. Because I think while this tracks gas and minerals, gas is the rarer commodity, so slightly worse. But overall, maybe not the biggest problem. I was like, what just died? Creep tumor just died. And uThermal delays his natural, right? So he is behind now 22 workers, which is quite a big difference. His Reynor might have had a little bit of panic, maybe a tiny little bit of panic in his initial defense. He did basically get away with a faster 3rd gasless opener. We'll call it a gasless opener. Well, he eventually got gas, he eventually got speed. But it looks like he wasn't really anticipating this quick drop. There's actually nothing here. Okay, does uThermal just win this game? Did uThermal just bop Reynor? I think he might have. Yeah, that double drop hitting faster than Reynor was predicting. He didn't have enough Lings to cover the Queens, and the Queens all alone do not cover each other against Marines with Medivacs and Stim. Reapers also entered into the natural and got maybe a couple more drones, distracted some of the reinforcements. Reynor is popping out some roaches right now, which, you know, with so few Marines left over, is probably going to be enough. But Reynor just lost a lot of workers there. 23 workers went down, lots of Lings, a lot of his Queens, and uThermal was getting a third CC on the safe base behind this, so now uThermal is in a really good spot. I am so surprised, though, it's so underdefended it, but then it just makes sense. You can get there so quickly, and depending on when you actually stop making Reapers, that drop can hit then and there, or it can hit a full minute later, which would have been the case when he faced Solar with a similar build. He waited a long time to transfer off of the Reapers, so the double medevac drop, I don't think it happened versus Solar, but certainly happens here. He cut his losses on the Reaper fronts about when necessary, and then he gets the hanging natural to drop ASAP, and Reynor was not only in the midst of a possible transition, you want to get into roaches, but he just really didn't have any protective units against such a usually simple thing. But the speed of it must have caught him off guard. So now Reynor is going into 1-1 roaches on Stargazers, which is kind of funny. I feel like on Blackburn, we pretty quickly identified that that was a roach preference. Not exactly, but roaches happen a decent amount on Blackburn. We get into another U-shaped map, and then we haven't... I haven't seen anyways. I haven't seen a lot of roach play on it. I wonder if it's actually good. uThermal is known that his roaches since his first drop started seeing them pop out. So with no worry about defending the third base, and even if he did take this base, I feel like it's not really the best attack area for a roach player. I think uThermal is in a really good position. Moving into someone massing roaches, though, that is questionable. Because if Reynor was doing this as a macro defense, he's just making units because he has to, but actually he's getting an infestation pit, a hive, 20 more drones, and a 4th and 5th base. Oh, the moving out's probably great, but you don't know for a fact, as uThermal, that there isn't an attempted swell of units, which the power spike there would hit harder for Reynor than it does for uThermal, and that thing, it could make things really, really awkward. So good evacuation. It is going to be there's going to be an opportunity for uThermal to move out. I think right then and there it was a bit awkward, but I think now would be a good time to move out, as his production has settled on, is it 8 barracks already? Yeah, 8 barracks with the tech labs, Marauders pumping out, tanks have been saved, a couple more got filled in there, and then hopefully for uThermal he scouts that it is going into hive, that there is going to be the next stage, I suppose, TVZ, and then I think he can move out. But if he waits for 2-2, that's going to take a long time, and Reynor will have successfully moved over into hive tech, probably double upgraded lurkers. So uThermal was a little too soon on the move out here, but if he had been able to read into this perfectly and go almost immediately after, I wonder if he could have done a lot of damage. He still could do a lot of damage. As long as he's hitting before, like, the Vipers are comfortably out, before the Lurkers are comfortably out, then he still has potential. That's just what I'm worried about, is that he's going to turtle too much. But he has 2 drops head up to the top side, and he is moving through the middle of the map as cautiously as he can. Reynor's looking to buy as much time as possible with corrosive biles. And the uThermal is being very cautious about being overwhelmed. But a very successful drop into the natural. Only a single Spore Crawler is not going to stop the Medivacs from coming in here. And Reynor is going to have to make a tough choice right now. He's either going to have to pull back more units. Actually, I think he's good there. He's good there, or continue on the front lines. With the Fungals coming in, he absolutely will continue punishing uThermal's attempted move-in. That Fungal was brutal. And just enough roaches back at home. Maybe even a few too many, but certainly enough to send the 2 Medivacs packing. With the Fungal here, really reduce the number of bio units uThermal is going to have to reinforce before continuing to siege hop his tanks forward, and now have to be even more cautious about another Fungal like that hitting. And that is the time that Reynor needed to buy. Now he's up to 3 Vipers. They still need to gain some energy, but that shouldn't be too big of a problem. And it also bought him up to his 2-2 upgrades, which actually they both are really quite close in their 2-2. So I think the most important thing is the Vipers. Now trying to go through this backside. I didn't even notice it, but at some point, uThermal must have been the one to drag out these minerals, right? I don't think Reynor would have gotten rid of them. So I don't know if Reynor noticed. I certainly didn't notice. And now the base is open for the killing. So easy kill on that third base. And what's even more concerning is a possible entry into either this high ground or through this ramp, right? So there's 2 chokes for Reynor to technically abuse, right? If he's the defender and he's here and uThermal pushes here, okay, that's easy peasy. That's Reynor's defense. But now that there's 2 options and you have to go through this entire mess to defend both, yeah, one of them is going to get pushed, and uThermal chooses the high ground of his opponent. Now he's heading right into his opponent's main base. Vipers are out, but a pre-spin on tanks is pretty good, so Blinding Clouds won't be that effective. Instead of abducting and then Blinding Clouding does the trick. But there are still a lot more tanks, but also some fungals. One more fungal really helping out, killing 2 medevacs. Other tank's going to be abducted. Lurkers are out as well. But uThermal doing an excellent job in this game. He's got to drop to the bottom right, going to put Reynor back on 3 bases. And of course, his main base starting to mine out as well. Decent concave to mitigate the damage from the fungal, as well as the lurkers, and Ghost are on the way. uThermal is getting to Ghost 3-3, and, you know, the 8 barracks all in 3 bases, so it is rather dedicated, but he is on his way to a 4th base. Most importantly, he can afford to get to Ghost and 3-3, despite only being on 3 bases. So this is still a good situation for uThermal. He picks up his double medevac drop, sends them, unloads them once again for another cancel. Reynor's going to try and double expand and probably just give up on the space entirely. Certainly send a scouting unit down here to make sure no drop just gets totally unloaded before you realize. But yeah, I think he might just give up on the space now that the minerals are gone. And a little last-second micro not going exactly uThermal's way. Doesn't get the Ravager. But uThermal, he's got the proper composition. He pulled back when he should have. He still has 6 tanks, 2 Liberators, possibly just going to go for harassment. I don't think they need to stay at home. And then 6 Ghosts. Scan in the middle reveals nothing. So Reynor moves down even farther south. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Okay, the Liberator sees the army. The Liberator sees the army. The siege up already happens. And then abduct? No, sorry. Parasitic Bomb, that's the word. Parasitic Bomb comes down to the medevacs and a good split from uThermal. That could have been nasty if uThermal moved out thinking that he had the go-ahead with all those scans. He would have been absolutely incorrect and would have gotten completely surrounded. But now uThermal can track the army a little bit better. His 3-3 is going to finish up. Reynor going for the absolute kill move, though, with this Nidus Worm. This could be dangerous. Oh, 1 Liberator siege is up. Get some damage done. Gets a little bit of a distraction. Reynor is still on the back foot, but now he has 9 lurkers with both of the upgrades. Still a couple of Vipers as well. There's Nidus Worm. Is uThermal paying attention? The attack is also happening. Blinding Clouds are going to be excellent in this case. All the tanks not shooting, but the Ghosts are still sniping. They take care of all the lurkers, and the rest of the bio with 3-3 complete is going to be able to tear down the army. The lurker, though, scan. No, the Nidus Worm as well. Oh, but they did it. There's nothing in the Nidus Worm. Oh, even though uThermal was late to responding, nothing comes out of that Nidus Worm, and that is a huge relief for uThermal, who doesn't have his production camped and then took a pretty good fight on the south side. If it wasn't for this one pesky lurker, he would have been able to continue forward, I think, a little bit more. But he had a lot of things to pay attention to. Also tried to get a drop back in the main base, and I was wrong. Reynor did try and take this hanging base again. It's going to be extremely vulnerable, but he had, I guess, the cash to basically triple expand. Still on a very low economy, though. 69 workers is not all that impressive. Other than being, you know, 69. And then we have another Nidus Worm not going to work out. And that actually really sucks for Reynor. As much as it can look awfully abusive, the Nidus Worm... whoops-a-daisy, didn't catch that one. 10 lurkers coming out, GG. That does suck. I'll be real with you, it does suck. What sucks for the Zerg side of things, I think, is that once it's been used, the pros, anyways, the pros tend not to die to it. Tend to, not always, right? Because the Nidus Worm is still relatively cheap, it is still incredibly threatening, but once it's kind of like the jig is up almost, you know, uThermal is going to leave a couple of units back there, which is exactly what he did. But Reynor is not going to stop being annoying. He's going to continue sending Nidus Worms wherever he possibly can. And uThermal is going to have a tough time responding to Nidus Worms in the natural. His production is still a ways away, much less his actual army. Now, this would be a trap. If Reynor put all of his lurkers up here, it would be terrible, because the ghosts are going to respond. So what's good about this for Reynor is that he sends 3 lurkers out, but then he actually attacks in the front lines. Now, uThermal was anticipating this to a certain degree, started to separate his army a little bit more, but does lose an entire command center, and now those lurkers are really close to his production. Liberators siege up, and are going to get a couple of shots, but mostly not impacting this fight. The ghosts have got to come back. All of them went to that high ground, which is a huge mistake from uThermal, and he didn't have any tanks to try and actually draw the line while he wasn't paying attention. Here come the snipes, however. Is it going to change the course of the battle? Reynor has a 10 army supply lead, but snipe, and suddenly the supply lead doesn't look so hot for the Zerg player. Fungal comes down, but too late to save the lurkers. Every single one of them died, and Reynor is forced to retreat. And Leonidas from the main base, however, right on top of that tank. So annoying, and what is it going to spill out? Nothing again. Okay, then that's not too impactful. So uThermal manages to even out the army supply, stay steady on 4 bases, and is looking to grab that 5th, but it's going to be an orbital, not a planetary. So even a couple of Ling run by is going to be really annoying for that to handle. On the other hand, though, if lurkers came up on it, at least you could lift it. So there is that. 19 ghosts, by the way. That is a lot of ghosts. Only 1 siege tank, however, meaning that's, again, if that ever happens again, there's no solid line of siege units that kind of makes Reynor think, you know, stop and go, okay, I have to deal with this first. Because if there were 7 tanks, you know, 2 there, 1 there, 2 there, whatever, then maybe Reynor doesn't get as close as fast as he did. But without it, you know, uThermal really is in a blobby composition right now, which means that if he ever gets pounced upon, if he ever gets fungled, well, it is going to be GG. Drop in the main base is going to get cleaned up with the help of a single lurker. uThermal has lost all of that lead he had garnered earlier with the drop, and now has, again, to deal with Ling run bias. So cool, you can lift it if lurkers come forward, and lurkers are exactly trying to do that, but, you know, boo, you don't have an easy defense against Ling run buys. And these Lings are going to get continually upgraded. 2, 3 on them with adrenal glands. Yeah, Ling run buys are going to be really, really terrifying. uThermal is playing one hell of a late game, but I worry more for him than I do for Reynor, to be honest. And he is playing his heart out. 22 ghosts at this point. Oh my god. And a bigger army supply for the Terran, which is very usual in this matchup. Wasn't just a couple of minutes ago, though, right? Reynor was stuck on a relatively low supply, but now he's more in a Zergy state of things. 91 workers, lots of bases mining. This base was killed again, so that drop in the main I thought didn't do anything. It did kill this. Kind of forgot about that. That was remade, and now it has to be remade again. And the gold base has been denied as well. So Reynor, I don't think he's actually mining with 87 workers to the best of their ability. But he is still mining more than uThermal currently, and that's only going to get worse the more that Reynor does run buys. That's exactly what he's doing. So uThermal was trying to set up missile turrets at least to kind of predict this, but also maybe catch a couple of stray Vipers would have been nice. Now we got ourselves a potential base trade. Lurker, or Lings, getting into the 5th base. Counting is hard, guys. 5th base, and on top of some of the production. But that 5th base might not be as important as Reynor's entire main base. Reynor, what's it feel like to be Nidus Rune, my dude? That's basically what Zerg players have been doing. The Terran players is getting up on the high ground and saying, no, you come to me. And Terran players, to be fair, pretty good about that with ghosts. But poor Protoss players, right? And now the ghosts can even snipe from above, and that's exactly what they're going to do. A couple of lurkers already going down. Gotta be careful. You don't know. Well, actually, he kind of does. He knows there's at least one fungal. Holy shit, the ghosts are so clumped up. Oh, and a couple of them are going to get taken down before they can fully retreat. But that last fungal, yeah, it doesn't hit the actual clump. Tanks barraging from the high ground onto Reynor. Still very important. Fresh, I think, that the 4th, 5th, whatever you want to call it. And this natural might even go down. Not that it's really important for the mining at this point, as much as it is just a sign that Reynor is not winning. 49 drones have gone down. Holy shit, the snipes are getting awkward. Yeah, there you go. And uThermal, he's back on to mining. No, he's not actually. One little cheeky Ling. Missile turret's being built to stop it. Liberator sieging up on the gold base is an excellent choice. It is very difficult for uThermal to deal with that type of harassment right now. If he can send Lings, fine. fine enough. But if he has to then Hydras, Corruptors, Vipers, something like that, he's not going to be able to do so. His technology has been significantly reduced. He does, funnily enough, have the Hydralisk down in the Infestation Pit, so Infestors and Hydras are still on the board, but Queens and Lings definitely not. Spawning Pool is not done. Rebuilding his lair also not. Oh, he rebuilt his lair. Okay, so he rebuilt his lair, and he can even go up to Hive. Did his Vipers just die? I think they might have. Yep, the last few Vipers died. Fungal still not actually changing the course of this particular game. They were very close to doing so with that Fungal on the ramp, but now what does Reynor even have with the Fungals? 14 Lurkers, where did you go? Cotton Eye Joe? No, we're 6. Jesus. Okay, that army, yup, yes, sorry, you don't have a chance against that. 6 Lurkers going to defend a gold base. Reynor really wants to hold on to that one, but again, what if a Liberator just comes by? What then, man? Things have gotten kind of tight on both of their economies. And while the ghosts didn't just all die to that one Fungal, they have been steadily picked off. 6 ghosts are all that remain up against 14 Lurkers and 5 Infestors. uThermal, not so easy peasy on the snipes. Is going to also need a decent concave to win out if there is just a big butting of the heads. Lurkers versus Terran. And more carnage for Reynor's economy as he might lose this base. Fungal does go down. Some of those ghosts are vulnerable. No Lurker snipes so far. There we go. On the retreat, getting some of those Hydras. And do the Lurkers move from the gold base? Yes, they do. uThermal was hoping for that. He moves the rest of his army down to the south side to deny Reynor one of his last mining bases. There is just the bottom right, and even that is already getting mined out. Goodbye gold base. Reynor now going for what is kind of in this game, right? A very desperate attempt at base race. All of the Lurkers going into uThermal's natural base, but a couple of them already dying to the tank shots. A tank sieged up in the natural as well. Liberator, if it's scanned, would have gotten so many extra shots as well, but it is going to be it. Reynor cannot make the comeback happen, and uThermal gets the 2-0 when no one expected it. Absolutely not. G freaking G. uThermal. You know, was he a replacement for this Homestory Cup? Is replacement man currently underway? Nicely done.